Hey there, I see you sitting in the shadows. Welcome to Keep Creating You. This podcast was created to bring Generation X women a plan and strategy for the next part of their life. Are you one of those women who lived in their 20s and 30s raising children, and you found yourself looking at your life and wondering, what's next? Then this podcast is for you. We discuss how to look at the next half of your life and decide what your next steps will be. Whether that is creating a business, starting a side hustle, or maybe you plan to stay in the career you love. How do you plan to get the most out of your life? How do you plan to keep creating you? Join me for this episode as we discuss a few steps for the next part of your life. Hey there, welcome back. So today I want to talk to you about changes. So last week we talked about doing something that you love. And did you? I would love to know if you did something that you love, or you did something more that you love, or you have put into place to prepare and get you ready to do something more that you love. Please let me know. Send me a message at kim@kpcreativemedia.com. Let me know. I would love to know what you did that you're doing now that you love. I wanted to talk about something that kind of goes along with that episode, but it's changes, right? We're really resistant to change. Are you finding that? Are you feeling me on that one? You know, I think there's a song about changes in our life in the 90s, like a grunge band or something. I can't think of it right now, but I know that change is not easy. All right. And so many people tell us this, right? It's so totally true. We have a routine every morning. People even tell you, as a matter of fact, everybody tells you that, oh, have a routine. And then you'll be, life will get easier if you have a routine. But maybe your routine needs a change, because maybe what you're doing isn't working and you need to move on to the next step. And that requires a change. And of course, you've been doing the same thing for so long that having any kind of a change is scary, right? Let me tell you that in 2017, I decided that I was going to change my life. Actually, I'm going to go back. In 2016, December of 2016, I decided I was going to change my life. I had been overweight for all my life, really. I mean, I guess not when I was a teenager, although even as a teenager, people told me I was pleasantly plump, which is another whole entire topic. But we were told that, or I was told that I was pleasantly plump. And so I just, I had my first kid and gained weight, lost some weight, had my second kid, gained more weight, and just never really seemed to lose it. You're so busy with them. Everything is about them. It's all revolved about them. Again, there was no self-care. I don't know where it went. I don't know how people get self-care now with young children. But back then, when I had young kids, there was no self-care. I was lucky to be able to go for a walk when my husband walked in the door. But what I did in 2017 or 2016 started the process was I decided that I was going to go to a program on bariatric surgery. And I did. In April of 2017, I had half or more than half, I'm not even sure exactly how much, of my stomach removed. I had bariatric sleeve gastrectomy. And I did great. But with that came a lot of changes, right? So not only are you changing the way you eat, the way you drink, the way you do anything, but your body's changing. Just like when we had kids, our body's changing, things are changing. Or now, if you're in that stage of going through menopause, your body's changing, right? So these are changes we can't really help. Certainly, I didn't have to sign up for the surgery. This was something that I opted to do. So yes, I did opt to make this change. This was supposed to be a change for good, although I have found I am about 5 years out, or no, I'm over 5 years out now, and I have gained quite a bit of this weight back, which is very disappointing to me. But I'm going to tell you, I know exactly why. because the changes that I made in April and May and June and July of 2017, I didn't stick with. For that first year, from April of 2017 to April of 2018, I didn't touch a drop of alcohol. That was the requirement of the doctor. Well, sure, I stuck with that because that's what she required, or that's what she asked of me. But I'm sure not everybody does. But I didn't touch a drop of alcohol. And in that first year, well, I'm actually going to back that up a little bit. In April through October of 2017, I lost the majority of my weight. And I would say maybe from October through April of the next year, I lost maybe a little bit more, but we had some things happen in 2017 that really changed our lives forever. And so that really put me on a different track. I got topsy-turvy and on a different area of my life. But even before that, I'm even going to step back even before that. The moment I got out of that hospital in 2017, right after surgery, you're told, don't go to work. You're supposed to take like a month off or some crazy thing, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. I'm not quite sure now what it was, but you're supposed to take time off. And I didn't. I had a business. I had a retail brick and mortar craft store that I owned. And so I was in the hospital on a Wednesday, had my stomach removed or half my stomach removed, got home on Friday. And the following Tuesday, I was at the office. Well, at the store. And I felt like crap. And I did the best that I could because I was a small business owner and I thought that's what I needed to do. I had canceled all my classes during that month and I really saw a struggle in the business. The business really started to go downhill at that time. And I'm going to tell you, I really tried everything. I pulled out all the stops that I could in such a fragile state that I was, that I ended up having some sort of sale that once I ended up with the payments from that sale, I had to wait for some of those credit card transactions to go through before I could pay May's rent. It was that bad. It was a terrible month. And I had this surgery on April 5th of 2017. And I will say I didn't get to pay May's rent until maybe May 5th because it was really a tough month. And that's, I think, one of the deciding factors. I really thought to myself, you know what, this isn't going to make it without me. And so I had to make a change, right? I had to decide, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with my life? And during that time, I actually decided that I was going to close the business. I hadn't really told anybody, maybe a couple of close friends, but I made that decision based upon the fact that if this couldn't survive while I needed it to, then I was doing something wrong and I needed to make this go away, and I needed to make a change, and I needed to end this particular area of my life and move on. Certainly not an easy decision to make. Never an easy decision, right? Change is hard. Change is difficult to make. I absolutely adored the store. I loved the store. Sure, it was a ton of work. Yeah, I was the website designer, I was the purchaser, I was the receiver, I was the saleswoman, I was the marketer. I did it all, right? You do it all when you are a small business owner. Yes, I did have Nicole and June to help me on occasion. And yes, I had some really great instructors that came and worked with me, worked for me. But when I needed that business to remain afloat and provide for itself, it let me down. And that's the deciding factor. That was when I decided, yep, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And the change was hard. First of all, it was hard to keep that secret. Let me tell you, I'm not even sure. I'd have to ask some girlfriends and see if they remember exactly when I told them that I was going to close the store. But I'm thinking that I might have even mentioned it to some of them in May that, yeah, this wasn't going to make it to its 5th birthday. Although we did. We actually closed September 26th, and our 5th birthday was September 1st. But I guess what I just want to really talk about is that it was a necessary change, right? So yeah, sure, I made that change for the bariatric surgery, and I did that. And then, yeah, I made that initial decision to change and close the business. And sometimes change comes about because we don't expect it to. And that's what happened to me and my family that fall. And something happened then that made the change something we couldn't control. And sometimes that type of change is harder to deal with. And we grew up thinking, just keep that routine, just keep going, just keep going, keep going. Don't accept change. Don't move along. Or maybe your life was just full of change and you were one of those people that just freaking moved around all the time and, didn't have any kind of stability. And now you're thinking to yourself, I didn't have stability as a kid, but now as an adult, I don't want anything to change. But change is good. Change is something that you need to embrace and you need to find the good in. Sure, I'm going to say, yeah, okay, what happened to my family, that change right there, that was a tragedy. Absolutely. Yes, that change was not a good change, but you have to accept it and you have to move forward, right? You can't stay stagnant. You have to change. You need to change. Why do you need to change? Because without change, there's no growth. There's no next step. And that's what we need you to think about now. How are you going to change? What can you do to change your life for the better? We talked about doing something that you love. If you didn't hear that episode, that was episode 2 there about what do you love? What do you do for yourself? Some self-care. Well, did you change? Did you do self-care? Change. It's good. It's growth. It's moving forward. It's doing something kind for yourself, kind for someone else, maybe, if that's what brings you joy. I think we are so stuck on not doing change, not moving forward, that we hold ourselves back. And it's kind of time to embrace that and move forward. How many of us have older children and we were really struggling? Think about it. They graduate high school and you're really struggling about them going away to college or, in my case, the military, and you really struggle with that change. Absolutely. Like that's a terrible change. But is it? It might have felt like it was a terrible change that day. You might have been really disappointed when that child had gone off to college or off to the military and they weren't there for the first, couple weeks, or 13 if yours is a Marine. But it's good for them. And ultimately, years later, we know that that's good for us too. Because I can now, years later, look back at that day and realize I raised someone that was willing to do that on their own. And that means I did something right? That means that they were comfortable enough with themselves to go to that college and live in that dorm. Or if they're not living at the dorm, just go to the college and get that next education level. Join the military and move off to a different part of the country. You have to accept that change, and it's hard. It's really hard right now. But it will get easier. We know this. You know this. And I think that when you are going to go forward with a change, you have to think about change equals growth. Change equals expansion. And when you realize that the change isn't actually all that scary and you can learn from it in one way or another, that's when you realize that change is good and you're ready for it. So, are you ready for some changes today? Thank you for listening to Keep Creating You. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like the show, I would love it if you'd hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss an episode. I would also totally appreciate it if you gave me a rating or a review. I'd love to know if this information is resonating with you. If you're looking for more information about myself or this podcast episode, you can find that over at kpcreativemedia.com/podcast. You can always find the links and resources mentioned on the show there. And if you're looking to start your own podcast, let me know. I'd love to help you. Let's talk about your idea. What's your next step in your life? Until next time, see you soon.